Hi, I'm Fran with Stampendous, and I've got more to show you with the pop-up forest. We started out using a lot of these stamps and the dies to create your basic summer, anytime tree and forest. Now I want to venture into doing some things to make it look like all the different seasons. So let's talk about how to make a fall forest. And as you can see here, I'm using some craft paper, and I quite liked the idea of running this inner panel through and die cutting it so that I could see where my pop-up tree is going to be. And then I'm stamping the whole background around that. And if you take a look over here, you can see that I'm using the clear set, and these trees were designed to give us some trees off in the distance here. And there's even a little heart stamp that you can see fits to stamp on top of the tree trunk where you want to make a special initials or names. And so if you begin from here, then if you want to use color pencils like I did on this one, or if you wanted to do a couple other things, let me show you how making some stencil masks of your own might be very helpful. Now you get acetate in the package, and on these sets we did not include a template, but now if you have the dies, of course, you can take perhaps acetate and white paper. I like to cut the two of them together and then write on them so that you don't lose the pieces. And the acetate is very easy to clean. The paper is a little bit more visible. So let me show you how I've used it here. Let's say, for example, you wanted to have the little fox behind the tree. Then your mask would be an easy way to stamp that behind, color them, and then you could cut that out separately. But if you're using the die, you're not going to see the little fox anyway, so you might as well color him separately, and then you can die cut him. But the masks are helpful in that way. And I also wanted to show a couple other things here in cutting out the leaves. Now you might find any number of interesting printed papers that would be quick and easy, but a couple other options would be if you wanted to take some craft or different colors of paper and then do some spritzing. If you can see here, I've used some of the memory mist, the orange juice, the amaretto, and even the bright gold to give us some interesting sheen. And this is a quick way to spritz an entire sheet and then cut as many of the leaves as you need. On this one I did some of the spritzing with coffee and then with the amaretto. And if you can see here, we've given you 3 different dies for the leaves. You have a large one, you have a medium one, and a small one. And so it just keeps using a smaller section of the cluster. Okay, so now I got the idea that perhaps some of the cluster of leaves would work like little shrubs or even like a pile of leaves. And so these with the spritzing look even more like some dead leaves sitting here. But anyway, lots to play with. And then of course you have all your little characters. So I wanted to mention this. On this tree trunk, I thought it was really fun, if you can see up close here. Let me move some things out of the way. I've used the spoonful of rust embossing powder and sprinkling it on the edge. And if you can see over here, we call it spoonful because it comes in this little tray. And you can play in it, sprinkle some on, and then with the clip tool that will help to heat it from underneath so that you get it all textured, and the colors are really fun for our little fall forest here. So anyway, here's all of our other little characters, and with this one on the white paper it really pops against the background. and you've got lots of little characters to tuck in place. You've got leaves of all kinds, and that's just going to blend into the background, but you get a real three-dimensional scenic view this way, and you can have a lot of fun with that. Here's some ideas for a spring forest. I've got lots of interesting prints that I started with, and whether you want to do some other colored and die cut pieces, or whether you simply want to find an interesting print, take a look at this. I think this is really fun. And you might even add a little bit of inking around the edges just to make one little piece stand out or pop up. But I thought this was a really fun print that immediately looked like blossoms. And so you can have lots of quick ways to do that. And I'll mention over here, in the same way that we cut out some stencils for the tree trunk, you can do the same with the leaves. And then if you want to use that, here's a quick way, line it up here. If you want to take some of your pigment ink and enjoy using your Dreamweaver stencil brushes, you can simply dab some color, kind of test it here, and then begin to work in from the edge of that little paper stencil. And that will give you a fun way to quickly add some color here and there, and you can do the same on the tree trunks. Next, I want to show you what I did for more of a wintry look. Now, we don't have any branches to our little tree, but notice how cutting out this interesting print of paper gives you a really nice sort of a wintry leaf look. And on this one I stamped on it, and other ones I just did a bit of color around the edges. And one way or another, that does give you a very interesting look that's quick and easy to do. But then there's more. Then I discovered a very interesting thing. The Dreamweaver Stencils has this beautiful large tree as a die, as well as a metal stencil, and using the die allowed me to cut out some beautiful branches, and I'm going to show you next what I did with that. So here you can see we're on a winter theme, and I die cut the tree out of this beautiful blue shimmery paper, and by placing it behind the tree trunk, now it gave me a beautiful effect for my winter tree with all of the little characters peeking in and out around and behind it. And here's our little doe as well, and that just gave me a really fun look. And then, as you can see, I went back to playing with the dies, the snowflake dies, and I used that on the outside to create a beautiful pattern as well. So here you have the dies and the stamps that you can enjoy using to make a whole winter scene. I wanted to show you another discovery as well. Because you have your die, you can also use it to cut through a lightweight chipboard. And by doing that, I created a temporary, maybe a little throwaway sort of stencil, but it made it a really fun way to give you a couple of options. So the positive, the little deer that you cut out, you can stack up a couple of layers and then secure a paper one on the surface and create a really nice, and who knows, 2 to 5 layers thick little character. And this would make a beautiful little pin or a magnet, as well as a beautiful embellishment for your cards. So while I was playing around with the stencil idea, I took some contact paper and I coated the surface of my chipboard so that when I ran it through, it would give me a surface that would clean up and be a little bit more durable to use a couple of times. And then I discovered that I could use the regular paste. This is the Dreamweaver embossing paste and my palette knife, and I was able to create a really nice thick spread of paste through this chipboard stencil. And then I wanted to do it on top of a chipboard, so I laminated a couple layers just to build up the thickness. And so then I was able to do paste through that whole layer and then come back and stamp on it. Okay, so if you do a layer of paste on a piece of the die cut chipboard, you're going to have to wait for it to dry, which might be about 20 minutes. But then I think the easiest way to line it up would be to have the stamp sitting here and then turn it over and place it down on top, press it carefully, and then lift. And that's how I did this one here. And at this stage, now I could go back in and add some color to it. And as you can see here, it's a little bit tricky to get it lined up, but I actually trimmed away a little bit on this one, and that worked okay. And one way or another, it gives you another very fun way to create a dimensional effect. And here's a little scene that I've been playing with, kind of like a little mini scrapbook page. And I'll mention here, my mistake here was to have stamped it first. So just place the paste where you want it and then come back and stamp on top. So anyway, there's lots more very fun ideas that you can do with all of your pop-up forest for every season and make a Stampendous impression every time.